Welcome to On Deck. I'm here with Ryan Klesko. It's an honor. First question I'm going to ask you, Braves fans, when they're thinking about Ryan Klesko, they think about who the man is in the batter's box. Can you tell me your mindset when you're taking a big swing?
Well, going in, always, even in high school, took big swings, tried to hit the ball as hard as I could. So the whole thing is, Brett Boone had a similar type of swings. It's just kind of my signature, I guess. I went in there and swing hard. I like to hit the ball a long ways. As I got older, I still swing hard, and even when I got 2 strikes, I would shorten up a little bit. But I used a lot of legs. I used a lot of core to generate the swing because, there was a lot of home runs that I hit that I really didn't hit that good that still went out. And so I guess the old theory, swing hard in case you hit it. So I tried to get as much energy in my swing as I could. I didn't get cheated. But there was times, when, as a man on second with 1 out where I had to get that guy over. Yeah. So I'd raise my hands up a little bit and just get the job done. But for the most part, I'm getting in there. As I got older, I knew that I had to be more selective. And as I got older, I still swing hard, but I struck out a lot less. I drew a lot more walks. I proceeded to get a better idea of the strike zone, but I just always let it fly, even from a little kid.
You certainly got your money's worth. Did Fred McGriff teach you the high finish, or did you teach Fred McGriff the high finish?
Oh gosh, I swing like that. The thing is, Freddie always gives me a hard time, but I swing that way before they brought his sorry butt over from Toronto or wherever he came from. But I actually had a high finish. Because of a wrist injury, because what happened is before I'd have 2 hands, and I have some problems. I was getting some cortisone injections into my I think it was my left wrist. So when I had to finish, I always try to let go. So that proceeded to come around the same time he was there. So, but yeah, we always joke each other about that when we see him. He goes, "He stole my finish. He stole my finish." But if you look at the home run that I hit, I think one of my first home runs, I had a high finish, and that was before Freddie even got traded there. So sorry, Freddie. I bet you he probably saw my swing and wanted to come up with something cool like mine.
Finish high to get that extension and the carry on the ball. I try to swing down, make good contact, and then Ryan has been watching me a lot.
Yeah, right.
So, as you notice now, he's like finishing high. Look at that.
That 95 team was filled with all-stars and Hall of Famers, and I think you played with 4 and you're managed by 1. Can you tell me a little bit about your manager, Bobby Cox, and your relationship with him?
Everything was good with all the players. We got along good. We played like a family, and I think that's why we won so much. You have a manager coming in, and the general manager from Sherholtz coming in, and Bobby coming in being from the general manager. But he was the general manager when I got drafted. But Bobby was he was straightforward. There was no BS with Bobby. He let you know how it was, and that's I think why the players respected him. Obviously there were some issues with me early on about me wanting to play more, but other than that, we really had no issues. He expected you to go out there and play as hard as you could to win on an everyday basis, and the players respected that. If he had problems with you, he would call in his office and talk to you. Some of the newer managers over the last, even around when I played. Some of the managers talked about their players, about their performance in the papers or talked to the media. Bobby didn't do that. If he saw something going on, he'd let you know right away. And I think you got to respect that as a player.
That lineup, you had Glavine, Maddox, Smoltz pitching. You had Chipper Jones in the lineup. You had you in the lineup, Fred McGriff. Andrew Jones eventually comes through. Do you think that those days are anything similar to where the Braves are at the moment?
There's some similar deal. Obviously, I don't think their starting pitching is as strong as what we had back then, but there's definitely great hitters. There's some good young starting pitching. There's coming up with Folke and Newcomb coming up. It's possible. And early on, Maddox and Glavine and Smoltz struggled a little bit. So you're starting to see that. Foltz struggled a little bit, Newcomb struggled a little bit. They still did good, but look what they're doing now as they get more experience. Yeah. So if they can continue to do what they've been doing. Folke had a great year. Newcomb, he threw really good. There was some issues of control later on, but they're in that trend. So is it there now? Not yet, but it's getting there. If those guys can do that, so definitely. And I think the lineup with Freddie and some of the, and man, with Markakis went out in right field. I know he's not here any longer, but they have a whole lineup of professional hitters with Ozzie coming in. Mm-hmm. It was an exciting year for them last year, and hopefully they only can get better.
Well, let's look into the future real quick. They just signed Donaldson this year. What do you look to see anything similar to Fred McGriff in that acquisition?
You just don't know, because you got a player that's a little bit older that's come off some injuries. If he's healthy, MVP type of player, right? And if he's healthy. And so they're banking on him being healthy, but you just never know in sports and athletics anyway. If he's healthy, look at the NFL, or a lot of your teams going into the season are predicted to do well, and you have injuries. So you hope and pray that your team, baseball, football, soccer, that you limit the injuries. And a lot of teams like that, I think the Braves have a really good shot. They just have to stay healthy, and look how many arm issues we had in the bullpen there for sore arms. And we lost our closer last year for a little bit because he had some. So if you can limit the injuries, which you just don't know, that's in God's hands. So you just they've got a good enough team to do it all. They just have to stay as much injury free as they can.
Chipper Jones went to the Hall of Fame this past year. Like I said, Hall of Famers feels like every year for the past 5 or 6 years. You got a couple more on the ballot that were teammates of yours, not just on the Braves. You have Barry Bonds as well. Who would you like to see go in this year while the voting's going on?
Man, I tell you, two guys that probably some of the best hitters I played with, and probably the best player I've ever seen play the game was with Barry.
Yeah.
I mean, whether he did steroids or not, before, after, or whatever, I personally can't. I don't know. I wasn't there, but that dude could hit. He was the most feared hitter in the game. I think best hitter all time ever. I played with him my last year when I think he was 40, and I mean, just lightning's hands, great eye. And Fred McGriff, again, was one of the most feared hitters in the game for 10, 15 years or whatever it was, the whole time he was playing. And a lot of home runs, a lot of just a great at-bats. He drew walks. There's some guys in there now that don't have as good as numbers, so he played in the steroid era, obviously, in my opinion, didn't do anything like that. So I think both those guys deserve to go in. But it's just up to the riders and stuff. But I know those two guys were very, very good hitters.
I always do this with any former Brave. Is there anything you'd like to say to Braves country?
No, just keep going. They got a great team. The support's been great. We got a new baseball stadium, and man, an exciting year last year. And let's bring another World Series championship back in.
I appreciate it.
All right, yes, sir. Good talking to you.
Oh, my goodness. High and deep to right. This baby is out of here. Splash. Oh, did he get that one? His first of the year. And a big one.